And now the news begins with updates on the End Bad Governance protest. The Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Mustapha, says those flying the Russian flag in Nigeria have committed a treasonable offense. Speaking after an emergency security meeting with President Bola Tinubu at Osarogie, Mustapha vowed that the law would catch up with such protesters. The protesters in parts of the country were seen marching on the streets, carrying Russian flags and chanting slogans. Meanwhile, the Russian embassy in Nigeria has denied any involvement with a group of protesters. The embassy in a statement emphasized that Russia does not interfere in the internal affairs of other countries, including Nigeria, and the protesters' actions do not reflect any official Russian government policy or position.
And besides that, we're also aware that all of us have seen it, where some foreign flags have been flown within the sovereignty of Nigeria, and that is totally unacceptable. We are warning in clear terms, and the President has also said we should convey this, that we will not accept anybody, any individual flying any foreign flag in Nigeria. That is a treasonable offense, and it will be viewed and treated as such. So nobody should allow himself to be used by any individual. Also, the issue of coups. Nigeria is a sovereign nation. Nigeria is a democratic nation. All security agencies are here to defend democracy and make sure that democracy continues to strive. We will not accept anyone pushing or taking any action, seemingly or for whatever reason, to want to push for any change of government.
Security agencies in Nigeria have vowed to protect the sovereignty of the nation following the sighting of Russian flags by protesting youths. Speaking after a meeting of the spokespersons of security, defense, and emergency agencies in the country, they say the protests have been hijacked by hoodlums who have used the cover of the protest to unleash mayhem on citizens. Amading Uyi reports.
At the back. It's been a theater of conflicts between protesters and security agencies. While security agencies have been accused of using disproportionate force to disperse peaceful protesters, they maintain that hoodlums under the guise of protests are wreaking havoc on innocent citizens. The Force Public Relations Officer says that security agencies will not allow the protests degenerate into wide-scale destruction witnessed during the NSAS protests, which almost destroyed the country.
Anytime any gathering or assembly becomes riotous, we have the mandate, we have the constitutional backing, we have the legal backing to engage proportionally, professionally, logically, and diplomatically to handle such a situation.
At this briefing of spokespersons of security, defense, and emergency agencies, the Force PRO, while answering questions from journalists, says that the recent trend where youths were seen brandishing Russian flags and calling for a regime change will not be tolerated. He said arrests have already been made and security agencies are getting to the root of the matter.
To carry the flags of a foreign country on our land is a criminal offense. We have them arrested. Just this morning, we have arrested one Ahmed Taylor from Kwana Hudu, a Nasarawa local government area of Kano State, for producing in large quantity Russian flags given to young Nigerians to go and fly. For reasons known to him, we are profiling him. We want to get other sponsors like him. As I speak with you, the same thing is happening in Kaduna. Thus, as we started this briefing, we've been able to arrest 30 of them with same Russian flags.
Other security agencies urge Nigerians to embrace peace and dialogue, saying security agencies in the country will protect their nation's sovereignty.
We are working with all stakeholders to be sure that there is no breakdown of law and order. And specifically, the President has said in his address yesterday that, the young people should not let some persons deceive them about their country. We need your support. We need every hands on deck to have peace in our land.
Us in the armed forces, we are a stability force. And as a testament to this, we are deployed across the country, which is indicative of our commitment to defend our country and to protect our citizens. We will continue to be committed to guarantee the safety of our citizens across the country, and will continue to do so.
They urge citizens to embrace peace and dialogue, saying there can be no development without peace. In Abuja for News Central, I am Amadine Uyi.
Thanks to Amadine Uyi for that report. Meanwhile, the Kaduna State government has imposed a 24-hour curfew on Kaduna and Zaria metropolitan cities with immediate effect. The decision was taken after an emergency Security Council meeting presided over by Governor Uba Sani to review the security situation in the state. According to a statement by the Commissioner for Internal Security and Home Affairs, Samuel Aruwan, the reason for the curfew is that the ongoing protest has been hijacked by criminal elements who have resorted to looting shops and destruction of private and public property in the state. The statement warned citizens to remain indoors while security forces continued to work to maintain safety and order. And we're joined this morning by Emmanuel Bagudu, News Central correspondent from Kaduna State, to give us more updates on this. Emmanuel, can you hear us?
I can hear you loud and clear. Good morning from Kaduna.
Good morning. All right, give us a quick overview of the current situation in Kaduna and Zaria since the imposition of the 24-hour curfew.
Yes. I'm actually standing right here, Ahmadu Bello Way, Central Market, Kaduna. Of course, the Zaria Expressway. And of course, we ran into police officers, soldiers enforcing court order. Of course, and one of the most attractive and most interesting situations is the fact that the persons that are actually enforcing these these curfew orders are soldiers. But police officers actually just behind me prefer to just mount the highways. The soldiers are using a lot of force to make sure that no one comes out. And don't forget, this is headquarters of Division 1 Nigeria Army. So it is expected that you will see a lot of soldiers, walking around, a lot of Nigerian Army activities in the enforcement of this curfew. So one will ask, isn't it a job of the police? But of course, it actually shows that the government doesn't want to take any chance, because it is so obvious that the protest was hijacked according to the government. And then, of course, look at where I am. I'm at the center of the central market. All the shops here are shut down. And this is where the soldiers are not taking it, lightly with anybody they see. No single fly you can find around here.
Yeah.
Because everyone is at home now, and they're really not smiling at all.
There might be an argument, against the presence of military on the streets in Nigeria. It's maybe just one of the abnormalities that we see in Nigeria. The fact that there is a military base around there doesn't necessarily mean that the military should be responsible for maintaining law and order. It's still the responsibility of the police. And from the videos, from this live video we're seeing, there's a checkpoint right behind you, and a very beat-up police vehicle also right next to it. So it's not a good picture. But tell us how tense it has been in Kaduna in the last 5 days.
Yeah, it's very tense. It's very tense for the fact that you saw a video where protesters hijack an army personnel vehicle. So it's a police personnel vehicle, so to say. Because that has been confirmed to us by the police. We had a chit-chat with the police officers here, and they actually confirmed that to us, that their armored personnel vehicle were hijacked by protesters, and it's that serious. So it is very, very tense. And then the police are really, really happy to work with media, and they are really relaxed, because they actually come to terms to understand that we're actually partners in progress. So the entire atmosphere in Kaduna is tense, and then the security officials are not ready to take any chance.
All right.
Nobody is going out, and they promise they are going to actually enforce this 100%.
All right. Emmanuel, thanks a lot for joining us. Remember to stay safe in Kaduna State over there. We'll speak with you again.
Thank you very much.
All right. Moving away from Kaduna, in Jos, the Plateau State capital, the Commissioner of Police, Additional Emmanuel, has described as proactive measures the decision of Governor Caleb Mutfwang to impose a 24-hour curfew in Jos Bukuru metropolis. The commissioner was speaking at the end of the first State Security Council meeting following the civil unrest in some parts of the metropolis, resulting from the hashtag End Bad Governance protest in the state. News Central's Chizoba Nyonwe is in Jos and tells us more.
The nationwide hashtag End Bad Governance protest in Plateau State began on a peaceful note until the fourth day, where some group of youth hijacked the exercise to loot shops and restaurants. This happened in Bauchi Road area of Jos and Zololo Junction. Amateur videos show the youth continuing with the unrest on Monday, but timely deployment of troops of Operation Safe Haven and other security agencies helped in containing the incident. While arrests have been made, the Commissioner of Police said all measures will be taken to ensure the incident is contained.
The state is still very, very peaceful. And our resolution today, with the leadership of the Executive Governor of Plateau State, the curfew will be vigorously enforced. It will be enforced. So it's just an advice to people that may think that they may want to disrupt it or cause one problem or the other to stay away. Because as we are seeing us here now, we have agreed in totality that we are going to enforce it. We are going to enforce it fully. And that will be in the interest of the state and all of us as citizens and members of this Plateau State. Yes, we have made some arrests and we are still going to keep making arrests. That is those that want to violate this curfew. And we want to make one thing clear. Those that are even walking on foot should stay away. Everybody should remain indoors. Those that are trekking, henceforth we are going to be picking them. And so far we have made 14 arrests.
In attendance at the security meeting headed by the governor included the deputy governor, all security chiefs in the state, and the security advisor to the governor.
So we continue as a state to please plead with our citizens to eschew all forms of violence. Let us continue to be law-abiding and continue to keep the peace. Please, if you are aware of anybody that is inciting anyone to bring mayhem to our society, point out that person to the security agencies so that the overall interest of all of us will be achieved.
While this curfew lasts, residents of Jos, the Plateau State capital, have continued to comply, all in efforts to ensure there is no further breakdown of law and order in the state. In Jos, the Plateau State capital, Chizoba Anyonwe reporting for News Central.
And thanks to Chizoba Anyonwe, of course, a quick overview of what the situation is like in certain northern states. Now, joining us to discuss the security situation during the protests is security expert Melvin Ader, the Executive Director, Global Peace and Life Rescue Initiative. Good morning, Melvin. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me to News Central.
All right. In the course of these conversations, one thing we've heard a few times is that the protests have been hijacked. Is that the same thing that you see from your interpretation of what's has happened in Kaduna and in Plateau State and in Kano State? Do you see a hijacking of the protest by persons who want to cause bad governance or cause anarchy rather, or is it simply just many people just going wild and going overboard with what the protest was meant to be about?
Let me first and foremost commend the Nigerian military, Nigerian forces, Nigerian police force for their dexterity, for their steadfastness, and for their adherence to professionalism in dealing with this hijack protest. I call it hijack protest because the actual intention of the protesters have been defeated by these criminals who infiltrated their ranks and are causing mayhem in Nigeria. This is not what the protester meant. This is not what they intend to do. However, that is why some of us have greatly advocated for this, for non-protest, because this is what you will get in a society where people are practically hungry. I want to categorically let you know that the protest has been hijacked by criminals, it has been hijacked by hoodlums who want to take advantage of this current situation. And until something is done drastically, we may have anarchy. We have anarchy in our hands. At a situation whereby people are beginning to fly Russian flags, people are beginning to call for military cover is unacceptable. We are in a sovereign country, and I think we have sufficient resources to deal with our issues instead of flying foreign flags. So, go back to your question. The protests have been hijacked by criminals, and I agree 100% with the federal government. But
whose responsibility should it be?
This is not unexpected.
Yeah. Whose responsibility should it be to prevent a protest from being hijacked by criminals, like you've said?
I think it's not the duty of security agencies completely, because they can be everywhere. We must admit this fact that security agencies can be everywhere. Why not trying to brief for them? We have less than 3 million security agencies all put together in this country, and we have more than 120 million Nigerian youth who signify interest for this protest. So they can't be at every point in time. So I think the organizers of this protest ought to have sat down to dialogue with government. They ought to have come out with very clear issues, articulate their point to ensure that something is done rather than going to the street. Once you get to the street in Nigeria, you can't prevent these things from happening.
Yeah, but,
that is why
what you're saying, my apologies for jumping in. What you're saying is that because of the inadequacy of the Nigerian government to beef up its security agencies, to ensure that we have adequate policing in every way, shape, and form, because the Nigerian government has failed in that regard for decades after decades, with billions and billions and billions of naira being budgeted for security every year. Even after they have failed, protesters now should then decide that, well, we don't have enough police force, and so we should instead continue to dialogue, even if it is their constitutionally guaranteed right to protest.
You see, I want to let me differ with you a little bit. The problem that the protesters took to the street today was not caused by Osarogue's government. Well, I'm not trying to hold brief for the government. Yes, the president removed subsidy. He removed some level of subsidy, and this is in a bid to sanitize this country. The problem of inadequacy of security agency didn't start from him, just like you admitted rightly. Several funds were invested in our security agency that didn't work. So this man is just barely. I think it's.
Yeah, but that's not the point. It's a different conversation arguing whether his policies started it or not.
I'm actually taking you there. Now, there are rooms for dialogue. We should dialogue at every point in time. Why we must admit that it is the right of the protester to always protest if they have grievances, but they must do that within the ambit of the law. The Nigerian constitution is very clear. Where your rights stop, that's where someone else will start. The people you are hurting, the people you are killing, the people you are maiming, the people you are vandalizing their property are also suffering from the same economic hardship. So what sense does it make to begin to vandalize property? So for me, I would advocate for continuous dialogue. It is not late yet. We should come to a drawing table, articulate these points, and see what government can do. We know that government over time have been very responsible. I must admit that fact. And people are truly hungry, no doubt. The youth are hungry. The country is actually very, very in a turbulent stage. But I think this anarchy is not the sure way to go.
All right, Melvin Ader, thank you very much for stopping by. We, of course, enjoy speaking with you. Please join us again.
Thank you very much.
All right. We, of course, would go on a short break. When we come back, the news continues. And, of course, we'll be sharing with you what's been going on in Lagos after 6 days of the protest. Stay with us. Welcome back. Now, after days of shutdown due to protests against bad governance and hunger, businesses and offices in Lagos have reopened their doors. The streets are once again bustling with activity, but the echoes of the protests still linger. Contrary to what obtained in many other states across the country, the protests in Lagos recorded very minimal violence, and there was no reported case of looting of businesses or destruction of infrastructure, as was recorded during the 2020 EndSARS protest. We spoke with business owners and workers on the streets of Lagos at the close of business to gauge their sentiments.
The protest was very random, and there was no really time to plan, and with the way the country was and with the way the last protest happened, I was very scared that something bad was going to happen. So obviously my boss, because of the previous toll gate protest, he was like, we should not bother to come to work within those periods. So yeah, it was a very weird period for me.
Yeah, since everywhere was okay, Thursday was okay, Friday was okay, so just Saturday was okay too, and then Sunday too was okay, so just assume that Monday would come back.
Initially, they didn't tell us that we'll be closing for few days. So, but when I got home on Wednesday, I think, yeah, so they sent us a message that we will not be coming to the office till further notice. Yeah, so for me, it was really interesting because I needed the rest. So I used the time to rest.
Actually, it's not fair being at home because that's the means we used to survive. But because of the situation going out in the town is no more, so it affects us a lot, staying at home. But we are hoping that our government should do something more better for us because we even thought that it would be like the end SARS, the way it was. So everybody was scared to go out, there was tension everywhere. But we thank God everything went well. So it wasn't what we expected that would happen. But we are just praying for a better Nigeria.
Normally, I feel so sad and I was not happy the way the country is going. So according to me and my family, I gained something to feed my family and to help my junior one from this work that I'm doing. But due to some circumstances, like since on the 1st, we just resumed work today and they are not going to pay us because of the protest. No, nobody will pay us because of the protest. And we are hoping and we are praying for better Nigeria.
Actually, since Thursday, business have
And now News Central's Bernard Akede is on the standby to give us updates on the situation of things in Ojota, Lagos. Bernard, good morning. Can you hear us?
I can hear you loud and clear, Osarogie. Good morning to you.
Brilliant. Give us a general mood and feel of what the streets of Lagos are like today. Are businesses fully reopened?
All right. Well, getting from the office all the way down here, it seemed like business as usual, honestly, around Lagos. And then we did get through the island. It also still did seem like business as usual. Of course, at Lekki Toll Gate, we still have a number of police vehicles lined up in that area. But, vehicles are moving as swiftly as they would on a Tuesday morning. You can see to my right here, Jota, there's even some kind of traffic building up around here, pretty much showing that it's business as usual all around this area. So it seems the same. Here is where, will I say, the epicenter of the protest, basically, or pretty much the only area where protesters have been allowed to converge based on the ruling of the court. But it doesn't seem like anything is happening. Now, there's been some interesting turn of events this morning. On arriving here, we met some other journalists who told us not to go back there where the protesters usually gather. And asking why they were giving us that warning, they said they went there earlier and that they were warned not to gather there. Eventually, we were able to hear from the Assistant Commissioner of Police, Paul Okafor, who spoke to us saying the reason why he doesn't want us to gather there is because it seems like the presence of journalists has been attracting more people. And then going forward to say that the leaders of the protest had said that the protest had been suspended, so there's no need for people to come out there. But if they see journalists there gathered, then it will begin to attract people who not necessarily are protesters, but people who are just gathered in the area who may be looking to foment trouble, looking to vandalize property, and maybe to loot shops. That was his reason for saying that we shouldn't go there. As a matter of fact, our digital journalist, Ogene Ruru, went close to the area with his device trying to record, and he was accosted by two uniformed men. I believe one was an officer of the Civil Defense Corps, and another one from the Neighborhood Watch, who told him to stop recording and to go back, based on the same thing that the senior police officer had said to us earlier.
Yeah. Have you also spoken with, I mean, in the times that you've been on the streets, have you spoken with, business owners and residents, and heard their own particular fears or concerns concerning the protests and the impact on their operations?
Well, not as at this morning. Some businesses are still just opening. But, in the past few days that we've been speaking to residents of Lagos, there are those who had been concerned earlier, just like the report you played before coming live to me, who were concerned that the protest could take the kind of turn that they saw in 2020 with the NSAS protest, where businesses were looted, people were injured, and some people even unfortunately lost their lives. But as the days went on, they've been able to see that it's been pretty much peaceful in Lagos, unlike other parts of the country. There also are those who felt that the protest had disrupted business activities in some places. And there are also those who we spoke to who said they felt that the protest in Lagos, that is, didn't pack the kind of punch that they thought it would pack. It didn't have the kind of impact that it should have had. And that's because that the protesters were confined to one particular area as regards, going on a procession like you've seen in other states. That if they had gone on a procession, then maybe the government would have understood and would have felt their pain better if they had hampered certain activities while still remaining peaceful. And then, of course, there are those who just believe there was no need for the protest at all. So, it's a group of people having different opinions.
Okay, and also, on day 6, which we are on now, it seems like everything has, calmed down across the country. Was this also from your analysis? Is this how you also expected things to go? Did you expect that it would go all the way to the 10 days that was stated as a protest?
To be honest, I didn't expect that it would go as far as 10 days, I beg your pardon. And a group of people who have had conversations with also thought the same. In fact, there were some people who were skeptical that the protest will hold, altogether. However, I think, just as I predicted, after the weekend, there was some kind of relaxing of activities here at the protest ground in Lagos as compared to other parts of the country. And then, of course, following the broadcast of the president, there was also some relaxing of activities. And then remember that there was this confusion on Sunday morning here when a particular gentleman who simply identified himself as Barrister JP came and addressed the crowd saying that he was one of the leaders of the protest, and that since the president has addressed Nigerians saying that the protest should be suspended, everybody should go home. So that kind of caused some kind of confusion. Some people went home, some came back yesterday or Monday, but of course it wasn't the same numbers that we saw. Also the court ruling that all the protesters should not go beyond this vicinity, confining them to this area, also worked some kind of magic, ensuring that the protest didn't escalate beyond this place. It's easier to control a crowd when they are in one place than when they are moving. So I think these and some other factors were part of the reasons why it was so contained here in Lagos. A lot of people expected that it would be more than this, but immediately after the weekend, I kind of had the feeling that the numbers would definitely drop drastically, and they clearly have.
Okay, all right. Bernard, thank you very much for, of course, the work that you've done in the last 5 days. And we hope that you, of course, continue to stay safe, and we'll see you when you're back in the office. All right. We are now, of course, joined this morning by the National Coordinator Education Rights Campaign. He's a rights activist, Hassan Soo. Good morning. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning, and thanks for having me.
Great to have you. All right, let's quickly get your thoughts, on the protest so far. It's been 5 days, or today is day 6. It seems like it's calm across Nigeria. Is this what you were expecting?
Definitely not. We were expecting that despite the imposition of a condition of hunger and hardship in Nigeria, that the President Tinubu government will still recognize and sustain the right of every Nigerians to be able to express themselves. So that it was a shock to us when even that right was practically taken away from us, by the government. And that is why we have seen a situation whereby a protest which was meant to last for 10 days, in order to provide sufficient time for all of the Nigerian people and youth who are affected by the economic policies of the government to express themselves. But the government kept on using the police and security agencies to frustrate protesters in every state, thereby leading to a situation where we have seen in the north, killings of protesters by security agencies. And in places like in the south, especially in Lagos, where I played a role at Ojota, occupation ground. So a situation whereby police confined us to one place and completely annulled our right to freedom of movement. But beyond that is the fact that the confinement of protesters to one place in Lagos meant that every other hungry Lagosian who wishes to have a say and to express their displeasure could not get to Ojota. Those in Epe, Ikorodu, those at Songwater, because you are talking about a condition of an hungry man. If somebody has to now travel a distance, spending 1,500 on transport, in order to come and put up their demands to a government, then you can be sure that that will be impossible. But that was what was done in a place like Lagos. So that we must clearly say that the Tinubu government has demonstrated over the past 5 days that it wants to enslave Nigerians.
No, but I mean, also, are you impressed with the turnout, regardless of, what you've mentioned now, that, the protest was meant to be restricted to certain areas, but were you impressed with the turnout here in Lagos and in other parts of the country?
Under the circumstance of the struggle in Lagos, I must commend all the Nigerian youth and the Nigerian people who have been coming out since Thursday, because they came out against all odds. And at least on 3 occasions, many of our people were attacked by thugs and miscreants and suffered huge injuries that the state is not even talking about. In other parts of the country, we must commend Nigerian youths and people who have been coming out. The pictures and videos of the movement in this part continues to inspire us, those of us in the South, that our day will still come when the Nigerian people will be strong enough to end this condition of slavery and servitude that the present Tinubu government fully represents.
All right, and also talk about, your reaction to those who say that the protest was hijacked and that, necessitated the need for curfews. For example, in Plateau State, I think Kano also has a curfew. Kaduna State also, has a 24-hour curfew. Do you agree that, it was hijacked by criminals, and so it was necessary that government stepped in to protect lives and property?
Criminals don't hijack protests. There has been no such time in the history of our country that criminals have hijacked protests. Have been protesting in this country for more than 20 years. It is the government that hijacked protests using a number of lumpen elements to do their bidding. 4 years ago, during EndSARS, those who came to attack protesters came in BRT buses, and they had in their hands shining machetes, newly bought. Even in the protest in Lagos over the past 5 days, the thugs that came on different occasions to attack us were mobilized by people that are close to the governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu government. So that from that point of view, the only reason why the protest in Lagos did not go in the direction of a riot was because those of us who are the organizers studiously fought all of the effort by the government using this element to turn our protest into something else. And that's why I'm happy that your correspondent on the field mentioned the role of one so-called barrister JP, who was sent to the protest ground on Sunday, where a majority of the organizers were not on ground, to declare the protest suspended. Do you realize that the chief press secretary or the Lagos State governor actually issued a statement based on that individual's very false declarations? The individual is not known to us in the protest. He was clearly sent by the state. These are ways that the government hijacks protest. So whatever has happened across the north, the responsibility should be put at the doorstep of President Tinubu. And that's why we say that President Tinubu will pay for the lives that have been lost across the country over the past 5 days.
All right. Thank you very much for stopping by. And we, of course, would see how things turn out in the next couple of days and in the near future. Thanks for your time. All right. Moving away now, the African First Lady's Peace Mission has launched an initiative to provide certification and professional training for peace mediators and women leaders on the continent. This follows the signing of a memorandum of understanding between the mission and the Mediation Training Institute in Abuja, Nigeria's capital. News Central's Joshua Imaray completes the story.
Africa has become the center point of conflict which has left millions displaced with their livelihood destroyed. While many have called for the need for mediation as an alternative to the use of force, peace advocates say there is a need to improve the capacity of persons saddled with dialoguing for peace on the continent. As African First Lady's Peace Mission signed a memorandum of understanding with the Mediation Training Institute in Nigeria, they say the need for certification and professional training of women leaders involved in promoting peace and harmonious coexistence across African communities has become necessary.
Not just the fact that we have inaugurated this beautiful facility that is a center for training, for mediation and peacekeeping. It's significant because you see what's happening here in Nigeria, what's happening in other parts of Africa. There is a need, a crippling need, to begin to talk about peace, to begin to change our mindset about peace, and to ensure that we build the Africa that we need, because there are issues.
The aim is to ensure a new African order where divisive national frontiers, the burden of military spending, the different crises all over will be things of the past.
Having it done with, this MOU today. But I said we should issue of having too many issues. It's because of issues we're talking about peace that we should address the root cause. And I said, apart from Nigeria, including Nigeria and other African countries, that this whole peace mission will be far-fetched if we do not reach down to the root cause.
This initiative is coming at a very, very important time, especially in the life of one of the biggest nations in Africa and West Africa, Nigeria, at a time when we all need to come together to bring peace to our land.
Stakeholders at the gathering expressed optimism that the partnership will empower a new generation of peace mediators with professional skills and certification, promoting peaceful coexistence in Africa. In Abuja for News Central, I am Joshua Imaray.
The Niger Delta Development Commission, NDDC, has launched Youth Internship Scheme that would empower 10,000 young people across the region with training and experience needed for gainful employment, as well as prepare them for self-employment through entrepreneurship. The exercise, which was flagged off in Port Harcourt, the River State capital, had in attendance youths from the 9 states of the region. News Central's reporter, and of course, Austin Azu, brings us details.
In a time when Nigeria youth desired employment opportunities with relatively scarce vacancies despite obtaining the necessary academic requirements, unemployment rates in Nigeria remain on the increase. The Niger Delta Development Commission is aiming to address the growing unemployment in the country with the launch of the Youth Internship Scheme for young people in the Niger Delta region to acquire skills and become an entrepreneurs.
The NDDC Youth Internship Scheme is a bold step towards changing this narrative, providing a lifeline to 10,000 young individuals to gain work experience that may lead some to start their own businesses.
We know Mr. President is working very hard with his policies to address the challenges that are facing the citizens of this country. And we in the Niger Delta have chosen to give this government that chance by way of supporting this government and supporting its policies.
Chairman, Governing Board of the NDDC, Chiwedu Ebie, who gave scope of the scheme, said the internship would allow the youth to enhance their technical skills and acquire practical experience in sectors such as oil and gas, hospitality, medicine, among others.
What we want to do is we want people to be empowered in a way that they learn a skill. So it's an internship. But during that period of the internship, that 12-month period, it is expected that a stipend will be paid to you.
And so it's very important that we take it seriously. This youth internship scheme is to empower you with a skill set. They've also made it clear it is online and it is free.
Some stakeholders and youth in the region commended the NDDC for the initiative and encouraged eligible applicants to apply.
And for me, it's a welcome development. Similar initiatives must be done to accommodate people of this region. Our region expects so much from not just NDDC, other agencies of development, so that people can truly benefit from opportunities that abound in government. Thank you.
Those eligible to apply for the scheme are youth below 45 years who must hail from the Niger Delta region. In Port Harcourt for News Central, Austin Azu.
Thanks to Austin Azu for that report. We'll take a short break. When we come back, the news continues. And now the news continues in West Africa, where the United States military has withdrawn from a final base in terrorist-hit Niger, more than a year after coup leaders in the African country demanded its troops leave. After nearly 800 soldiers pulled out of a base in the capital Niamey in early July, around 200 had remained at the large Agadez base in northern Niger. Deputy Pentagon Press Secretary Sabrina Singh told reporters that less than 24 folks were still on the ground in Niger. The remaining personnel at the U.S. Embassy are performing administrative work in preparing for the completion of the withdrawal.
Commencé le 19 mai 2024 par la signature d'un accord, ce retrait s'est achevé aujourd'hui par une cérémonie de transfert des installations en présence d'officiels des deux pays, marquée par le départ du dernier C-17 Globemaster 3.
Now in business news, the leadership of Nigeria's House of Representatives has resolved to dissolve the current ad hoc joint downstream and midstream committee. The ad hoc committee was set up to investigate the importation of adulterated petroleum products, the non-availability of crude oil for domestic refineries, and other critical energy security issues. However, News Central gathered from reliable sources that the House leadership appeared uncomfortable with the membership of the joint committee, some of whom may have come under the influence of external forces. We'll have more in this report compiled by News Central's Nasser Agbalaya.
The spokesman of the House of Representatives, Akin Rotimi, made known the plan by the leadership of the House of Representatives to dissolve the current ad hoc joint downstream and midstream committee. The lingering war of words between Dangote and other refineries in Nigeria and oil regulators, as well as supply of refined petroleum products issues, had led to the committee being established initially. Earlier, Deputy Speaker Benjamin Kalu had urged the ad hoc committee to maintain fairness in their assignment.
That you stand on the part of the people rather than the part of any other interest. Let the center of this investigation be on the people, and all about the people of Nigerians who are suffering.
Incidentally, a number of media houses in Nigeria had reported that some members of the committee and others had asked for the sack or suspension of heads of NNPCL and other agencies in the downstream and midstream sector of Nigeria's oil industry. Also, the former chairman of the ad hoc joint committee and chair of the standing committee on petroleum resources downstream, Ikenga Ugochinyere, had asked all parties to the dispute, refineries and regulators alike, to await a resolution by the House.
The Joint Committee resolved that both parties in the raging argument, Dangote Refinery, other refining companies, NNDPRA, marketers, and relevant stakeholders should henceforth cease further allegations and counter-allegations pending the conclusion and outcome of the investigation.
Incidentally, the House of Representatives had also dissolved its ad hoc committee investigating the controversial acquisition of OVH Energy Marketing Limited's downstream assets by NPCL after the panel presented a report that many lawmakers described as suspicious and shabby. No further information is available of a new committee for the investigation. Many expect that the findings of the new ad hoc joint committee will not be swept under the carpet.
That's all at this hour, but before we go, let's take another look at some of the major stories. Nigeria's defense chief has accused protesters flying Russian flags of committing treason. Businesses have reopened in most parts of Nigeria after days of protests. We also told you that the U.S. military has completed its withdrawal from its final base in Niger. To send your eyewitness reports to the WhatsApp number on your screen. Follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV. You can also watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, StarTimes channel 274, Avo TV, and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I am Osarogie Ogbonwman.